The moment Cianna knew her marriage was over, she was standing at the kitchen sink in her favorite yellow dish gloves, scrubbing a pot that had already been cleaned for 10 minutes. Welcome, Midnighter. Before we continue, comment where in the world you are watching from, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss more updates. Devon's footsteps came down the hallway. She knew them by heart, the slight drag of his left foot from an old soccer injury, the way he always paused at the threshold of whatever room she was in, like he needed permission to enter his own life. He paused now. She kept scrubbing. Cianna. Not C, not baby, just her name dropped into the space between them like a stone into deep water. She turned off the faucet, dried her hands on a towel that still smelled like yesterday's garlic. When she finally faced him, she saw the suitcase by his feet, a small one, black, the same one he used for weekend trips to visit his mother in Atlanta. 17 years, and he was packing for her like she was a 3-day layover. I can't do this anymore, he said. Cianna pulled off the yellow gloves, one finger at a time. She placed them on the counter next to the clean pot, lined up the cuffs perfectly. Some small part of her brain was already cataloging this moment for later. The way the afternoon light slanted through the blinds, the hum of the refrigerator, the fact that she was wearing the holy t-shirt she'd had since college. She would remember all of it. She always did. Can't do what, Devon? Her voice came out steady. She was proud of that. He ran a hand over his face. Still handsome, even now. The kind of handsome that had made her girlfriends roll their eyes when she brought him home from that reggae concert in Brooklyn 20 years ago. Jamaican bone structure, a smile that could start a fight or end one, and eyes that had once looked at her like she was the answer to every question he'd ever asked. Those eyes were apologetic now. That was worse. The baby thing, he said. The not having kids thing. I know we said we were done trying. I know we said it was just us now. But Cianna, his voice cracked. I see Bobbies everywhere, on the street, in the grocery store, on YouTube, everywhere. And every time I look at you, I think about what we don't have. What we don't have. Not what I don't have. He was still doing that. Still making it their failure when Cianna had done every test, taken every pill, let strangers poke and prod her for years while Devon sat in waiting rooms reading car magazines. He'd never even done a sperm analysis. She'd asked, twice. He'd said it made him feel less like a man. She thought about saying that now. She thought about screaming it. Instead, she leaned against the counter and crossed her arms over her holy t-shirt and waited. There's someone else, Devon said. And there it was, not a grenade, not a bomb, just a small, quiet implosion like a star collapsing into itself. Cianna felt something detach inside her chest, not her heart exactly, but the muscle of hope she'd been using to hold everything together. It let go. She didn't fall. How old? What? The someone else, how old is she? Devon looked at the floor. 23. Cianna laughed. She couldn't help it. It was a short, dry sound like a stick breaking. 23. He was 45. 23 years old and probably still had her college ID in her wallet, and Devon had left their bed, their life, their 17 years for a girl who couldn't legally rent a car without paying a fee. She's pregnant, Devon added fast like he was ripping off a bandage. I didn't plan it. It just happened, but she's having my baby, Cianna. After all these years of nothing, I finally, he stopped himself, swallowed. I finally get to be a father. My baby, my baby. The words echoed in the quiet kitchen. Cianna felt something rise up her throat, not tears, not anger, but a strange, distant curiosity. She wondered if the girl knew that Devon left the toilet seat up, if she knew he hummed in his sleep, the same 3 notes over and over. If she knew that when he was truly happy, he made oxtail on Sundays and called everyone Irie for a week straight. She wondered if the girl would ever find out that it was Cianna who taught him how to fold a fitted sheet. She doesn't know you, Cianna said quietly. She doesn't know any of your songs. She doesn't know that you're allergic to shellfish, but you eat it anyway because you like the way it feels to be reckless. She doesn't know that your mother's sweet potato pudding is the only thing that makes you cry." Devon's jaw tightened. "She knows I love her." "Do you?" Cianna tilted her head. "Or does she just have a working uterus?" The silence that followed was so complete she could hear the ice maker in the freezer drop a single cube. Devon picked up his suitcase. He didn't deny it. He didn't confirm it. He just walked to the front door, opened it, and stood there for a moment with his back to her. "You were enough," he said. "You were always enough. I'm the one who wasn't." Then he left. The door clicked shut. The refrigerator hummed. The afternoon light shifted 1 inch across the floor, and Cianna stood in her kitchen with her yellow dish gloves on the counter and a clean pot in the sink, and 17 years of her life walking down the front steps in a small black suitcase. She did not cry. She walked to the living room, sat on the couch they'd picked out together, opened her laptop and typed into YouTube, "How to start over at 42." The first video that popped up was a woman with gray braids and a bright orange blazer saying, "Your ex-husband's affair is not your character development, honey. It's his." Cianna clicked play. And then finally she cried. Bailey scrolled through Devon's phone while he slept, and that's how she found out his wife's name was Cianna. She was curled up in his guest bedroom, their bedroom now, she corrected herself, even though the walls were still beige and the sheets still smelled like the detergent his mother used. Devon was sprawled beside her, one arm thrown over his face, snoring softly. His phone was on the nightstand, not locked. He trusted her. That was almost sad. "Cianna," she said it under her breath. Cianna, a pretty name, an adult name. The kind of name belonging to a woman who owned more than 2 forks and knew how to file her own taxes. Bailey scrolled through old text messages, old photos, old proof that Devon had once loved someone properly. There was Cianna at a barbecue, laughing with a paper plate in her hand. Cianna in a hospital gown, looking exhausted but hopeful. Cianna with her head on Devon's shoulder, both of them younger. Both of them unaware that 17 years later a 23-year-old with a fake ID and a rent-controlled apartment would tear it all apart. Bailey felt nothing. That was the trick. She'd learned it early, from her father who left, from her mother who drank, from the string of men who taught her that the fastest way to get what you want is to stop caring about what you break. She locked the phone, snuggled closer to Devon, pressed her hand to her belly, flat still, but not for long. The baby wasn't his. She'd known that before she even slept with him. The real father was a white boy named Tyler with a patchy beard and a podcast no one listened to. When she found out she was pregnant, Tyler laughed. "Not my problem," he said, and then he blocked her on everything. Bailey had 2 choices: figure it out alone or find someone stupid enough to raise another man's child. She found Devon at a bar near the nuclear plant. He was drinking alone, staring at his wedding ring like it was a life sentence. She sat down next to him, ordered the cheapest wine and said, "You look like you're carrying the whole world." Men like Devon are easy. They're starving for someone to see their pain. All Bailey had to do was look. Now 3 months later she was living in his guest bedroom, their bedroom, and Devon had finally left his wife. Bailey stretched like a cat and smiled at the ceiling. Phase 1 complete. Phase 2 was getting the ring. Phase 3 was the money. Devon had a good job, a pension. And when the baby came, Tyler's baby, not Devon's, Bailey would have all of it. She just had to make sure Devon never found out. 2 weeks later, Devon moved the rest of his things out of the house he'd shared with Cianna. Bailey didn't offer to help. She stayed at the apartment, watching reality TV and eating pickles straight from the jar, waiting for him to come home with boxes. When he walked through the door, he looked hollow. She kissed his cheek anyway. "How'd it go?" she asked. Devon set down a box marked garage tools. "She didn't fight me, that's the worst part. She just let me go." Bailey wrapped her arms around him from behind. "She didn't deserve you," she whispered. "I'll give you everything she couldn't." Devon turned and buried his face in her hair. She felt his shoulders shake once, twice. Then he pulled back and tried to smile. "You're right, new beginnings." He touched her belly. "All three of us." Bailey smiled back. "Three," she thought, "if you only knew." The first doctor's appointment was a problem. Devon wanted to come. He'd taken the day off work, printed out a list of questions, even bought a small stuffed animal to put in the baby bag. Bailey panicked. If Devon came to the appointment, the doctor would ask about medical history, her history, Tyler's history, none of it matching the story she'd told Devon about being a simple girl with no complications. "I want to do this one alone," she said, hand on his chest. Devon frowned. "Why, it's our baby." "Because," Bailey looked down, practiced her vulnerable face. "My last boyfriend, he never came to any appointments. He didn't care. I want to know that you care enough to let me have this moment by myself, to trust me." It was manipulative, it was obvious. And Devon, still raw from losing Cianna, still desperate to believe he hadn't destroyed his marriage for nothing, nodded. "Okay, whatever you need." Bailey went to the appointment alone. She gave the nurse Tyler's information, fake name, real medical history, and sat through the ultrasound pretending to cry at the right moments. The baby was healthy. A girl. Bailey texted Devon a blurry photo of the sonogram. "Our daughter," she wrote. Devon replied within seconds, "I'm going to be a father." Bailey laughed out loud in the parking lot. No, she thought, "I'm going to be a widow with a check." That night Devon made dinner. Oxtail the way his mother taught him. The apartment filled with the smell of thyme and Scotch bonnet peppers, and Bailey sat at the small kitchen table scrolling through her phone. Devon brought her a plate, kissed her forehead. She didn't look up. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Fine." She was looking at Tyler's Instagram. He'd posted a photo with a new girl. Bailey felt a flicker of something, not jealousy, not regret, just annoyance. She closed the app. Devon sat across from her. "I've been thinking, once the baby comes, we should move, somewhere with a yard, maybe near my mom in Atlanta. She's already knitting blankets." Bailey forced a smile. "Sounds perfect." But she was thinking about the lease on her apartment, the one she'd kept as a backup, the one Devon didn't know about. If things went wrong, she had somewhere to go. If things went right, she'd drain his bank account and disappear before the baby's first birthday. Devon reached across the table and took her hand. "You know," he said quietly, "I spent 17 years thinking I was the problem, thinking maybe I didn't deserve a family, and then you showed up." His eyes were wet. "You saved me, Bailey." She squeezed his hand back. "I know." Later, after Devon fell asleep, Bailey lay awake in the dark. She thought about Cianna, the woman whose husband she'd stolen. She'd looked her up online. Cianna was beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with age. Dark skin, strong cheekbones, a smile that seemed to know things. Bailey wondered if Cianna was crying right now. Wondered if she'd ever find out the truth about the baby. Probably not. Men like Devon never found out the truth. They were too busy believing what they wanted to believe. Bailey closed her eyes and dreamed of money. Across town, Cianna sat in her empty house and stared at the wall. The silence was different now. Before Devon left, the silence had been full of things unsaid, arguments they were too tired to have, bobbies they were too afraid to try for again. Now the silence was just silence. Empty. Final. She picked up her phone, opened YouTube. The algorithm had already figured her out. The first video in her recommendations was titled, "When He Leaves You for Someone Younger and Why You'll Still Win." Cianna clicked play. The woman on screen had gray braids and a bright orange blazer. "Your ex-husband's affair is not your character development, honey. It's his." Cianna laughed. It hurt. She laughed again. Then she scrolled to the comments. One woman had written, "My husband left after 20 years. I'm now 55 and learning to dance salsa. You'll survive this. I promise." Cianna typed back, "I'm 42. Where do I start?" The woman replied 2 minutes later, "One day at a time, and delete his number." Cianna looked at Devon's contact in her phone. She'd labeled him Hubby Blue Heart years ago and never changed it. Her thumb hovered over the delete button. She didn't press it. Not yet. But she thought about it. Bailey felt the first contraction at 2 a.m. Devon drove her to the hospital, speeding through red lights, one hand on the wheel and one hand squeezing hers. She screamed like she meant it. He held her like he meant it, for one night. They were exactly what they pretended to be. The baby came at dawn, a girl, pink and screaming and perfect. Devon cut the cord. His hands trembled, tears ran down his face. He looked at Bailey, really looked at her and said, thank you for giving me a daughter." Bailey smiled and said, "She has your eyes." She didn't. The baby had Tyler's eyes. Hazel, not brown, but Devon was too busy crying to notice. The nurses cleaned the baby, wrapped her in a white blanket, placed her in Devon's arms. He stared at that tiny face for a long time. Then he pulled out his phone, opened his camera and took a photo. His first instinct was to send it to Cianna. He didn't, but he thought about it. Bailey watched him from the hospital bed, watched him fall in love with a child that wasn't his. She felt nothing, not guilt, not satisfaction, just the quiet calculation of someone who'd already won. "Let's name her Grace," Devon said. Bailey nodded. "Grace is fine." She was already planning her exit. Devon took Grace home 3 days later. He'd bought a crib, a rocking chair, a stuffed elephant. The apartment looked like a baby catalog threw up. He didn't care. He sat in that rocking chair at 3 a.m. with Grace in his arms and hummed old Jamaican lullabies his mother used to sing. For the first time in 17 years, he felt whole. Bailey watched from the bedroom doorway. She'd been watching a lot lately, watching him change diapers, watching him heat bottles, watching him whisper to a baby that had Tyler's nose and Tyler's chin and nothing of Devon except the last name Bailey had put on the birth certificate while he was at work. "You're good at this," she said one night. Devon looked up, exhausted and happy. "I've been waiting my whole life." Bailey smiled. Then she went back to bed and texted Tyler, "He's hooked. Another 6 months tops." But something shifted after Grace turned 4 months old. Bailey caught Devon staring at the baby's face, not the loving stare, the confused stare, the one that said something doesn't add up. "Her eyes are changing," Devon said. "They're getting lighter." "Bobby's eyes change," Bailey said. "Not from brown to hazel." Bailey laughed too loud. "You're being paranoid." Devon didn't laugh back. He just picked up Grace, held her close and walked to the bedroom. Bailey stood in the kitchen with her phone in her hand. She opened Zillow, started looking at apartments in cities Devon had never heard of. 2 weeks later, Devon came home with a DNA test. Devon didn't open the DNA test right away. He left it in his jacket pocket for 3 days, like keeping it there meant nothing had to change. On the 4th day, his mother called. "You sound funny," Marcia said. She was in Jamaica, sitting on the veranda drinking sorrel. Devon could hear the birds in the background. He hadn't been home in 2 years. "I'm fine, Ma." "Don't lie to me. I raised you better than that. Is the baby okay?" "The baby's fine." "Then what?" Devon looked at Grace asleep in her crib. Blonde fuzz, hazel eyes, skin that got lighter every week instead of darker. "I don't think she's mine," he said. Silence. Then Marcia sucked her teeth. The sound traveled 1,000 miles and still cut like a knife. "I told you," she said. "I told you not to leave that woman. Cianna was gold, pure gold, and you threw her away for some white girl with a belly and no shame." "Ma." "You listen to me. You do that test. And when it comes back the way we both know it will, you call Cianna and you beg. Not for her to take you back, for her to forgive you. Because right now, Devon, you are not the man I raised. You are a stranger wearing my son's face." She hung up. Devon sat on the floor next to the crib. Grace stirred. He reached through the bars and touched her tiny fingers. She grabbed his thumb and held on. He loved her. Even if she wasn't his, he loved her. That made it worse. Across town, Cianna was having dinner with a woman named Devon, her oldest friend, the one who'd held her hair back after the fertility treatments and held her wine glass after Devon left. "So he's living with a baby that's not his," Yvonne said, dipping bread into olive oil. "And you're sitting here eating carbs with me instead of dancing on his grave. That's restraint." Cianna laughed. It was small, but it was real. "I don't want him to suffer, I just want him to know." "Know what?" "That I wasn't the broken one. I never was." Yvonne reached across the table and took her hand. "You were never broken, see? You were carrying his shame for him. That's different." Cianna looked out the window. The restaurant was full of couples, laughing, touching, starting over. "I'm thinking about dadding," she said. Yvonne almost choked on her wine. "Finally." "Not yet, but thinking about it." "That's more than you've done in 6 months. I'll take it." Cianna smiled. For the first time in a long time, it reached her eyes. Back at the apartment, Devon finally opened the DNA kit. He swabbed Grace's cheek while she slept, swabbed his own, sealed the samples, dropped the box in the mail. Then he sat in his car and called the only person he should have called months ago. "Cianna," he said when she answered, "I need to tell you something, and you don't have to forgive me, but you need to hear it." She didn't hang up. So he talked. The results came on a Tuesday. Devon opened the email in his car, parked outside the clinic, because he couldn't bear to read it in the apartment where Grace was taking her afternoon nap. His hands were shaking. He clicked open the file and read the words 3 times before they made sense. Probability of paternity, 0%. He sat there for a long time, then he drove home. Bailey was on the couch scrolling through her phone. Grace was in the swing, sucking on a pacifier. "We need to talk," Devon said. He showed her the email. Bailey's face didn't change for a full 5 seconds. Then her eyes widened. Her mouth opened. She looked up at him like he'd just accused her of murder. "What is this?" she said. "The DNA test. She's not mine, Bailey." "Whose test? I didn't agree to any test. You did this behind my back." "You would have stopped me." "Because it's insane. Some lab makes a mistake and suddenly I'm the villain." She stood up, phone in hand, already typing. "I'm calling them right now. This is an error. These things happen. You don't just—" "Bailey." No, you don't get to do this. You don't get to accuse me of cheating because some machine got it wrong. I have been faithful to you. I have given up everything for you. I left my family for you. And this is how you repay me." Her voice cracked. Tears spilled down her cheeks. She looked so convincing that for one horrible moment, Devon almost believed her. Then he remembered Tyler's truck in her parking lot. The man with no shirt on the couch. The way she'd packed a bag before the results even came. "I saw him," Devon said quietly. "The night I swabbed her cheek. I drove to your old apartment. He was there on the couch, no shirt. He said the baby was his." Bailey stopped crying instantly. Her face went cold. "You followed me. I went looking for you. You were gone. I had to know." She stared at him for a long time. Then she laughed. Not a happy laugh. A tired one. The laugh of someone who'd been caught and was finally done pretending. "Tyler is nobody," she said. "He's a loser with a podcast. I slept with him once. One time before you and I were even serious. That doesn't mean the baby is his." "Then do another test, with me there, watching." Bailey's jaw tightened. "Fine, we'll do another test. But when it comes back that she's yours, you're going to apologize to me in front of your mother, and you're going to mean it." They did the second test at a different lab. Devon watched them swab Grace's cheek, watched them seal the samples, watched them label everything with his name and Bailey's name and the baby's name. Then he waited. 5 days. Bailey was cold the whole time. She slept on the couch. She didn't look at him. She made a show of crying on the phone with her mother, saying, "He doesn't trust me, Mama, after everything I've done for him." The results came back on a Sunday. Probability of paternity, 0%. Same as before. Devon printed the email and placed it on the kitchen table. Bailey read it. Read it again. Then she threw her coffee mug against the wall. "These labs are corrupt," she said. "They're all corrupt. I want a third test, a different state, I want." "You want to keep lying." "I want the truth." "The truth is right here, Bailey. Twice. 2 different labs, 2 different sets of doctors. She's not mine." Bailey grabbed her phone. "I'm calling a lawyer. You're trying to get out of child support. You're trying to abandon us. After everything." "Abandon you?" Devon's voice finally rose. "I left my wife for you. I gave up 17 years for you. I have loved that baby like she was my own blood. And you sat there and watched me. You watched me fall in love with a child you knew wasn't mine. That's not abandonment. That's cruelty." Bailey's face twisted. For a second something real flashed across it. Shame, maybe, or just the anger of being seen. "You wanted a baby so bad," she said quietly. "You would have taken anyone's, any baby, any woman. You didn't love me, Devon. You loved the idea of not being alone." She walked to the bedroom. This time she didn't pack dramatically. She just grabbed a duffel, stuffed it with clothes, and paused at the door. "Grace stays with you tonight," she said. "I need air." She left. Devon stood in the kitchen with the broken mug at his feet and the DNA results in his hand. He looked at Grace asleep in her swing. Then he picked up his phone and called the only person who deserved the truth. Cianna answered on the 3rd ring. "It was me," Devon said. "The infertility, all of it." He told her everything. The radiation at the plant 12 years ago, the tests he finally took, the 2 DNA results, Bailey's lies, Tyler's baby, the empty apartment and the broken mug, and the 17 years he'd let her blame herself. Cianna didn't say anything for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was quiet. "You should have gotten tested the first time I asked." "I know. You should have held my hand in that clinic and done it with me." "I know. You should have trusted me enough to be scared together." Devon closed his eyes. "I know, Cianna, I know all of it, and I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just needed you to know it wasn't you. It was never you." Another long silence, then Cianna exhaled. "Thank you for telling me," she said. "I've been waiting to hear that for 17 years. Does it help?" "I don't know yet, maybe someday." She hung up. Devon sat on the floor next to Grace's swing and waited for Bailey to come back. She didn't. 3 weeks later, Bailey sent a text. Not an apology, not an explanation, just an address and a time. Devon showed up at a coffee shop on the other side of town. Bailey was already there, sitting in the back, no baby in sight. "I'm not keeping her," Bailey said. "No hello, no how are you, just that." Devon sat down. "What do you mean?" "I mean I don't want her. Tyler doesn't want her. My parents are too old. His parents are too drunk." She lit a cigarette even though the sign said no smoking. "You want her, take her. I'll sign whatever you need." Devon stared at her. This woman had destroyed his marriage, lied to his face, let him fall in love with a stranger's child, and now she was offering that same child to him like a used couch. "She's not mine," he said. "She doesn't know that. She'll never know if you don't tell her. You're the only father she's ever known." Bailey took a long drag. "Look, I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for anything. I just can't do it. I'm 23 years old. I didn't sign up for this." "You did," Devon said. "You literally did." Bailey shrugged. "So take her or don't, but I'm leaving tomorrow, and she's not coming with me." She stood up, dropped a napkin with her lawyer's number on it, and walked out. Devon sat in the coffee shop for an hour. Then he drove home. Grace was with a babysitter, a teenager from downstairs who didn't ask questions. He picked up his daughter, his not daughter, the baby who had no one else. I don't know if I can do this, he whispered to her. Grace blew a bubble with her spit. Devon laughed, then he cried, then he called a family lawyer. Across town, Cianna was having brunch with Yvonne when a man walked up to their table. Sorry to interrupt, he said, but you dropped this. He held out a napkin. Cianna hadn't dropped anything. She looked at Yvonne. Yvonne looked at the man. He was tall, brown skin, kind eyes, a little gray at the temples. He was holding the napkin like it was a peace offering. I didn't drop that, Cianna said. No, he admitted. But I've been trying to find a way to talk to you for 3 weeks, and my therapist said I should just be honest. Yvonne burst out laughing. Cianna blushed. Your therapist, Cianna said. My therapist. Her name is Dr. Patterson. She's very tired of me, he smiled. I'm Marcus. I work at the hospital downtown, pediatrics. I saw you in the waiting room last month when my niece was getting her tonsils out. You were reading a book and crying and laughing at the same time. I haven't been able to stop thinking about you. Cianna looked at Yvonne. Yvonne gave her the "if you don't talk to this man, I will kill you" look. I'm Cianna, she said. Marcus pulled out a chair. Can I sit? For a minute, she said. My friend bites. Yvonne grinned. Only when necessary. Marcus sat. He didn't try too hard. He didn't mention his job or his money or his car. He asked about her book, asked about her weekend, asked about her favorite place to get breakfast in the city. Cianna answered each question like she was learning how to talk to a man again, because she was. By the time the waiter came for their order, she was smiling, a real smile, the kind she thought Devon had taken with him. Across town, Devon sat in a lawyer's office with Grace in his arms, signing papers that would make him a single father to a child who shared none of his blood. He didn't know about Marcus. He didn't know Cianna was laughing with a pediatrician named after a Roman emperor. He didn't know that while he was fighting for a baby that wasn't his, she was learning how to want again. But he was about to find out. And then the phone rang, a number he didn't recognize, a voice on the other end promising miracles for a price. Mr. Reed, we specialize in male fertility, the treatments the government won't tell you about. If you want to be a real father, your own blood, we can help. Just bring cash. Devon looked at Grace, looked at the papers, looked at his empty apartment through the lawyer's window. Tell me more, he said. What would you do? Raise a child who isn't yours or chase a miracle? Does Devon deserve to be a father after what he did to Cianna? And will Cianna recognize love when it finally shows up without an agenda? Like and subscribe for part 2 coming up soon. Hit the bell.